Well, it has been 1 week of break time, yeah? I'm not sure whether all of you are using your 1 week holiday to the fullest, or you are mainly stuck with assignments and revision for your upcoming midterm test. However, no matter in what state of situation you are right now, I hope everyone's still in a good health condition, yeah? Please take care of your physical and mental condition, you guys. These are all your precious treasures. Alright, today's lesson is the second part of our previous lesson in week 7. We are still going to look at the public procurement topic. This topic is kind of straightforward, so I hope you guys can learn about the information that is given to you shortly, very fast. Without wasting too much time of yours, let us start our online lecture class now. Okay class, let's take a look at the syllabus content first. Okay, this is the syllabus content for topic 5B, the second half of public procurement topic. So today we are going to learn about 3 topics. 5.4, methods of public procurement. 5.5, the role of Federal Procurement Board. Okay, we have 2 boards here, yeah, board A and B. Later we are going to look at it. And then 5.6, government assets management. Alright, first of all, what is exactly the method of public procurement? Okay. These are all the types of public procurement. So class, what is exactly the method of public procurement? We have already know that procurement is the purchasing of goods and services for public purposes. So the next valid question should be how to get these goods and services. What are the procedures, steps, ways, so on and forth, right? Hence, methods of public procurement actually refers to the modes or ways of obtaining supplies. Supplies in this context apply to products or goods and services needed by the government. In order to get the necessary products and services, there are 5 ways or methods to do so, as what you can see here. Okay, the first one is casual or direct purchase. It involves less than 50,000 ringgit of purchases. And then the second one is quotation, and then the limit of the amount is between 20,000 ringgit to 500,000 ringgit. Meanwhile, for tender, the third type, it is related to product and services, the purchase of product and services with the amount more than 500,000 ringgit. And then next one, emergency purchase and also foreign purchase. So we have 5 types here. Okay class, first of all, let's take a look at direct purchasing. Okay, casual or direct purchase. Amount not exceeding 50,000 ringgit per year. So goods purchased normally used by that department. Examples are stationery and office equipment. You have to remember, yeah, the amount is less than 50,000 ringgit per year, yeah. So head of department were allowed to source procurement from any company that was known to offer reasonable prices. For products or services procured between the range of 10,000 ringgit to 50,000 ringgit a year, for any item or class of item, the respective government agency was allowed to purchase directly from any Bumiputra supplier who was registered for that particular class. Procurement of works up to the value of 20,000 ringgit may be done through the issue of a works indent to a contractor who is registered with the Contractors Services Center (PKK) and Construction Industry Development Board (CIDB) Malaysia. Okay, continue. Purchase order will be prepared by the department by identifying the type of goods, size, quality, quantity, and also supplier. So the procedures, the first one, prepare the purchase order. Secondly, submit to suppliers. Thirdly, suppliers must revert within 14 days, 2 weeks, yeah? And the amount is below 10,000 ringgit, can purchase from any vendors or suppliers. But for the amount of 10,000 ringgit to 50,000 ringgit, 50,000, yeah, have to purchase from Bumiputra suppliers that registered with MOF, Ministry of Finance, and provide a reasonable price. So meaning to say that for below 10,000, they can choose any vendors or suppliers, even though it is not from Bumiputra suppliers, yeah, as long as the price is reasonable enough for the purchase. Payment will be made after the goods are received. Accordingly, and purchase order and invoices have been prepared and signed by both parties. So class, in some cases, a procuring entity may consider only one supplier and contractor. This procedure is known as direct purchasing or single sourcing. This is allowable and most commonly used for supplies and services up to 50,000 ringgit and for small-scale works up to 20,000 ringgit. Of course, the supplier or contractor chosen for a direct purchase must deliver at an acceptable quality and charge a reasonable price. Next one, let's take a look at the second type of method of public procurement, which is the quotation. Yeah. Okay. Quotation is a procurement of goods ranging from 20,000 ringgit to 500,000 ringgit. If the first one, the direct purchase, it involves the amount of less than 50,000 ringgit or exactly 50,000, yeah. But this one is from 20,000 ringgit to 500,000 ringgit. Example, it is for facilities, equipment for organizations, operation. So what are the procedures? Okay, firstly, purchases ranging from 20,000 ringgit to 200,000 ringgit, the department needed to get quotations from at least 5 suppliers who were registered with Minister of Finance for the specific code of items. Quotations were also required for work procurement. This cost should fall into the range of 20,000 ringgit and 100,000 ringgit, and based on the Civil Engineering Standard Methods of Measurement or CESMM. Procurement of works above the value of 20,000 ringgit and up to 500,000 ringgit is done through calling of quotations, and the minimum number of quotations to be invited is only 5, yeah? All contractors wishing to take part in quotations must be registered with the PKK and CIDB. I've mentioned this earlier on, yeah? The contractor must be chosen by rotation or voting from the Class F contractors in the district or the nearest district. However, any work on repairs, maintenance, or renovation that required changes must be first referred to the technical department of the Treasury for their approval before quotations were obtained. Alright, for quotation, for low-value procurements above 50,000 up to 500,000 ringgit for goods and services, and above 20,000 ringgit up to 500,000 for works, the procuring entity calls for a quotation known as a request for a quotation or RFQ rather than a tender. Quotations require a company just to quote a price and demonstrate its compliance with specifications. The company offering the lowest price wins the contract, providing it is compliant with the specifications. Yeah? This is a useful means of procurement for readily available off-the-shelf goods, standard products or services, or small-scale public works of limited value with simple and straightforward specifications. The key features are that price is the dominant and in some cases the exclusive consideration. Remember, yeah, the most important part that is being evaluated is, of course, the price range. Yeah? Two types of quotations may be adopted. One is the open quotation, in which the RFQ is advertised and all companies within specified categories, usually the SMEs, yeah, may respond to the invitation with at least 5 quotations required. The other is a restricted quotation, in which 5 or more suppliers or contractors are specially invited to submit a price offer for the goods, services, or works to be procured. Many quotations in Malaysia are reserved for Bumiputra SME suppliers and contractors. Remember that, yeah, guys? Okay, next one, we are going to look at tender. Yeah? So, procurement of works, supplies and services above the value of 500,000 ringgit must be done through tender processes. All contractors intending to participate in local tenders must be registered with the government. Of course, yeah, anything that involves government projects needs to be registered under the government. International tenders will be invited for supplies and services if there are no locally produced supplies or services available. For specific works, if local contractors do not have the expertise and capability, tenders may be called on a joint venture basis between local and foreign contractors to encourage the transfer of 5 technology. International tenders for works may only be called when local contractors do not have the expertise and capability and a joint venture is not possible. Limited tender was for products and services that did not exceed 5 million and had the approval from the procurement board of the particular agency. It is normally limited to Bumiputra suppliers only. All tenders that exceeded 5 million must get the approval from the treasury. So let's take a look at the types of tender. There are 4 types. Okay. So we have open tender, selective tender, negotiated tender, and also single stage and 2-stage tender. So what are all of this all about? So for the first one, open tender. So open tendering is the main tendering procedures employed by both the government and private sector. Open tendering allows anyone to submit a tender to supply the goods or services required and offers an equal opportunity to any organization to submit a tender. So this is an open one, yeah. Anyone is invited to submit their tender. Okay. And then this type of tender is most common for the engineering and construction industry. Open tendering provides the greatest competition among suppliers and has the advantage of creating opportunities for new or emerging suppliers to try to secure work. However, not all those who bid may be suitable for the contract and more time is required to evaluate the tenders. Okay, more time but more opportunities because this is an open, yeah. Open means a lot of people will come in and try their luck. So the best one will win the bid, something like that. And then for selective tender, it is much different from open tender, yeah. Selective tendering only allows suppliers to submit tenders by invitation. These suppliers are those who are known by their track record to be suitable for a contract of the size, nature and complexity required. Maybe meaning to say that this kind of contractor, they already have done a few jobs for the government previously, yeah. So maybe they are being invited for the tender. Okay, so it may be particularly appropriate for specialist or complex contracts or contracts where there are only a few suitable firms. However, it can exclude smaller suppliers or those trying to establish themselves in a new market because this is by invitation only, yeah. And then next one, negotiated tender. Negotiated tenders are extensively used in the engineering and construction industry, commencing from tendering till dispute resolutions. Negotiating with a single supplier may be appropriate for highly specialist contracts or for extending the scope of an existing contract. Costs are reduced and allows early contractor involvement. Since the contractor is part of the project team at a very stage of the project, this results in better communication and information flow. So basically, negotiated tender is the one that is being chosen earlier on. So basically, this kind of tender only involves one contractor, yeah. The expertise one, the one that already have a reputation or have been done work, um, mostly for governments. Okay, and then the next one, single stage and two stage tender. Single stage tendering is used when all the information necessary to calculate a realistic price is available when tendering commences. An invitation to tender is issued to prospective suppliers. Tenders are prepared and returned. A preferred tenderer is selected, and following negotiations they may be appointed. Two-stage tendering is used to allow early appointment of a supplier prior to the completion of all the information required to enable them to offer a fixed price. In the first stage, a limited appointment is agreed to allow work to begin, and in the second stage, a fixed price is negotiated for the contract. So actually, single stage and two stages are quite similar with negotiated tender, yeah? If you can see that. And then for tender procurement process, we have a few processes here. Started from specifications, tender documents, advertisement, followed by sale of tender documents, tender deposits, closing and opening of tenders, evaluation of tenders, and also selection of successful bidder. Okay, but before I go in detail with each one of this process, I just want to summarize back about the tender procurement just now, yeah? Okay, class, for tender, the main means of procurement is the competitive tender applicable to contracts above 500,000 ringgit. This requires prospective suppliers and contractors to submit sealed bids that include both a price offer and an offer of the types and quality of the goods, services, and works to be supplied or undertaken. The bids are required to conform to the specifications in such details of the products, services, and works as laid down by the procuring entity. Tenders may be divided into two, in this type of tendering. International open tenders, in which international companies may bid on their own alongside domestic companies or in conjunction with domestic companies in a consortium or joint venture or JV. International open tenders are adopted if there is evidence that few Malaysian companies on their own have the capacity to meet the demands of the contract. This could apply to high-value procurements of specialized products, services, and works. Okay. Meanwhile, for domestic open tenders, only domestic companies may bid. Domestic tenders are adopted if there is evidence that sufficient Malaysian companies are capable in terms of resources, expertise, and experience of meeting the demands of the contract. However, the Treasury Circular, which is PK1, emphasizes the priority that should be given to procurement from local manufacturers or local distributors. Okay. All right. The first process, specifications. So ministries and departments are required to initially prepare tender specifications. For this purpose, a technical committee needs to be formed. Specifications should be as detailed as possible to give the bidders a clear idea of what is required or expected. This is some kind of a proposal, yeah, proposal of the things that they want to do, something like that. The specifications drawn are functional or performance-based, although technically detailed specifications are sometimes used. Compliance to acceptable international standards or their equivalent may also be included in the specifications. However, tailored specifications to suit any brand or country are strictly forbidden. The system provides for an objection from potential bidders, a period of 14 days from the date of issue of tender documents on any tailored specifications for local tender, and 28 days for international tender. So double the days, yeah, for international tender. And then second process, tender documents. Tender documents are prepared and distributed at a cost, the minimum being 50 ringgit. The contents of the tender documents include general and specific terms and conditions, specifications, a copy of agreement, price schedule, delivery period, objection period, and the scope of works expected. Okay, next one, advertisement. All tenders are advertised in at least one local daily in the Malay language. International tenders must be advertised in at least 2 local dailies, in example, one in the Malay language and one in the English language. Procurement opportunities can also be accessed through the procuring agency's websites, My Procurement portal, okay, as you can see here, and My Government portal at www.malaysia.government.my. Bidders are given a submission period of not less than 21 days for local tenders. For international tenders, the submission period may not be less than 56 days. Yeah. So for bidders, for local tenders, they have less than a month. Meanwhile, for international one, they have more than a month. It's almost 2 months. Yeah, 56 days. And then fourthly, sale of tender documents. Sale of tender documents may commence from the date of publication of advertisement in the dailies. Only contractors fulfilling the local registration requirement may purchase tender documents for local tenders. In the case of international tender, supplies and services contractors are exempted from the local registration requirement. However, works contracts require foreign contractors to register with the CIDB. So please remember, yeah, for work purpose, it is always must be registered under CIDB. The requirement to register with CIDB is mandatory for all contractors dealing with the construction industry in Malaysia under an Act of Parliament. And then the fifth process, tender deposits. Local suppliers and contractors registered with the government are exempted from. However, international bidders are required to furnish a tender deposit ranging from 60,000 ringgit for bids below 5 million to 1 million for bids exceeding 30 million for supplies and services. For works contracts, bidders are required to furnish tender deposits ranging from 60,000 ringgit for contracts below 10 million to 1 million for contracts exceeding 100 million. So this is the deposit, yeah. And closing and opening of tenders. The tender advertisement stipulates the precise date and time of closing and the address to which all tenders must be sent. The tenders may be sent by post or dropped into boxes specially made available for this purpose. Tender proposals by bidders should include the technical and financial proposals prepared separately in 2 copies and sealed in separate envelopes to facilitate scheduling and independent evaluation. A tender opening committee comprising of senior government officers will open and schedule all the tenders and prepare a schedule of prices quoted. All tenders will be accorded a serial number and the name of bidders will be omitted to enable fair, just, and independent evaluation of tenders by the technical and financial evaluation committees. Okay, 7.1 Evaluation of tenders. Evaluation committees will evaluate all tenders based on the criteria set in the tender document. Evaluation is normally done by two separate committees, in example, Technical Evaluation Committee and also Financial Evaluation Committee. The evaluation of both committees will result in the ranking of tenders received, and the tender secretariat will apply the predetermined weightage for the final evaluation of all tenders. This tender evaluation report will then be submitted to the procurement boards of ministries or departments, agency procurement boards for consideration and decision. And then the last process here, selection of successful bidder. The agency procurement boards will consider and select the successful bidder. Selection of tenders will be based on the general procurement principles, predetermined criteria, and final evaluation. All tenders are to be considered by the agency procurement boards. However, in cases where the tender value is above 100 million for works and 50 million for supplies and services, the tenders would then be sent with recommendation of the agency procurement boards to the Ministry of Finance for final decision. Information of successful bidder will be displayed in the procuring agency's websites and My Procurement portal. So please remember these 8 processes, yeah? Alright, next one. We are going to look at the next type of procurement, which is the emergency purchasing, yeah? This is very straightforward. So emergency purchasing, it is made during emergency period or to be made immediately, whereby the delay in procurement will affect national interest. That is why it is called emergency, because it must be made immediately. Purchase during emergency period must serve emergency requirement only. So the procedures, it is limited only to fulfill the emergency needs, must prepare the report of the emergency purchase, and to be submitted to the controlling officer within 1 month. Submit the report to the Secretary General of Treasury, Federal or State Financial Officer for State within 1 month. Example of emergency purchase in the event of war, heavy floods, or natural disaster. The next one, foreign purchase, yeah? Purchase of goods that are not offered by local suppliers. Advertisements are made by local suppliers. Advertisements are made locally and externally to publicize the offer. So what are the processes? So the first one, preparing and deciding on what to buy. Next, determining the quantity and costing. Selecting the supplier, followed by assessing the supplier's past performance. Preparing the contract agreement, and also monitoring the services or completion as per agreement. And then last but not least, ensuring that the goods are received on time, in good condition, and meets the standard of quality as stated in the contract here. Next one, we are going to look at the role of Federal Procurement Board. We have been talking about this procurement board previously, right? So now you know what are the roles of this board. So there are 2 boards here. We are going to look at it shortly. All tenders, in example, procurement of supply, services and works above the value of 500,000 ringgit must be considered and decided by agency procurement boards. The Minister of Finance appoints all federal government procurement boards, and the chief ministers of the respective states appoints the state government procurement boards. The chairperson is usually a head of department or a controlling officer who, under the Financial Procedure Act 1957, is empowered to manage the annual allocation given to a particular ministry or department. Currently, 2 agency procurement boards have been established in all federal ministries. So there are 2 agency procurement board, yeah, mainly Procurement Board A and Agency Procurement Board B. So remember, there are 2 procurement boards. The first one is Board A and followed by Board B. It's very simple, yeah. The Agency Procurement Board A is empowered to decide on tenders up to 50 million ringgit for supplies and services, and up to 100 million ringgit for works. The representative from the Ministry of Finance is the permanent member of the Agency Procurement Board A, and his presence is mandatory to validate the decision of the board. This requirement is mainly to ensure that all procurement principles, policies, rules, and regulations and procedures are strictly adhered to. Meanwhile, for the Agency Procurement Board B is empowered to decide on all tenders below 20 million ringgit without the presence of a representative from the Ministry of Finance. Tenders above the values of 50 million ringgit for supplies and services and 100 million for works for government ministries or departments, and tenders above 100 million ringgit for statutory bodies must be forwarded to the Ministry of Finance for final decision. Any decisions of the agency procurement boards which are not anonymous must also be forwarded to the Ministry of Finance for final decisions. Right, in keeping with procurement reforms in most modern states, the government has delegated responsibility for contract awards of low to medium value to ministries or departments at the federal level. So within the procuring entities, procurement boards are set up whose function is actually to make contract awards. Members are appointed by the Minister of Finance. The chief ministers of the respective states appoint the state procurement boards. The head of the board is usually a head of department or a controlling officer, yeah guys, who is responsible for the overall management of funds earmarked for procurement. In most procuring entities, so there are 2 procurement boards, A and B. They are supported by a group of committees each dealing with a particular stage in the procurement process. In example, drafting specifications, opening tenders, proposals, and quotation submissions, and evaluating them. The procurement boards decide on the terms of the contract and the companies to be awarded contracts. So just to simplify everything, Procurement Board A is empowered to decide on tenders up to the maximum of 50 million for goods and non-professional services, the maximum allowed for a line agency, and up to the maximum of 100 million ringgit for works, the maximum allowed for the PWD. The line agency and the PWD may make awards to professional works consultants if the infrastructure project is valued at no more than 300 million ringgit and the research and survey work are each valued at no more than 5 million ringgit. So the membership of Procurement Board A includes a permanent representative from the MOF to ensure that all procurement principles, policies, rules, and regulations and procedures are followed, yeah? Meanwhile, for Procurement Board B is an authorized board or agency to decide on procurements at or below 20 million ringgit for goods, non-professional services, and works procurements. It may also make awards to professional works consultants if the works project is valued up to 20 million ringgit and /or the research and survey works is valued up to 2 million ringgit. Procurement Board B can make awards without the presence of a representative from the MOF. Yeah, remember that, yeah? Any decisions of procurement boards which are not anonymous must be forwarded to the MOF for final approval. So that is the summary, yeah? Okay guys, we have come to the last topic of the day, which is the asset management of government. So 5.5, government assets management and assets disposal, policies and also procedures. So definition of asset management, this is all very straightforward, yeah, it's very easy for you. A systematic process of maintaining, upgrading, and operating assets, combining engineering principles with sound business practice and economic rationale, and providing tools to facilitate a more organized and flexible approach to making the decisions necessary to achieve the public's expectations. So this is from Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 2001, yeah? Property assets such as land and buildings are a key resource for all types of organizations, including public sectors. Within public sector organizations, property can be considered as having financial contribution and effect upon annual financial statements, asset base, and as well as on resale values in case of privatization of any public entities. The importance of effective assets management in the public sector can be perceived in many ways. The first one, property can therefore be considered as having financial contribution and effect upon annual financial statements, asset base, and as well as on resale values in the case of privatization of any public entities. Second, in the event of economic and financial crisis, effective asset and property management in the public sector would improve property performance through quality improvement and control cost. Then thirdly, effective asset and property management deliver quality service to its end users. In example, public sector employees. It should be noted that the federal government departments have the highest number of employees in their organizations of about 100,000 that occupy majority of their office buildings. Okay, how about the assets disposal? Asset disposal is the removal of a long-term asset from the company's accounting records, which an asset is fully depreciated and must be disposed of. Means it's expired already, so we don't need it anymore. Yeah. So what is the procedure of disposing it? As asset is sold at a gain or loss because it is no longer useful or needed. In addition, an asset must be disposed of due to unforeseen circumstances. Okay? So there are several methods of disposing of assets. First one, outright sale by tender, quotation, and auction by a contracted auctioneer, and then by scrap, e-waste to a licensed dealer. This should be here, yeah. And then third way, recycle to an authorized agency, or trade into supplier against replacement items, donation to registered charities or community organizations, transfer to another agencies that need it, or just destroy it. As simple as that, yeah. Alright class, we have come to an end of topic 5 for public procurement. I hope you enjoyed the topic, yeah. And then as usual, please stay safe and